And hello, my name is Martin, and what we're going to be doing today is, well, first what I want to do is I want to show you what I've done so far with the area. So what I've done is I've actually put some skins on the outside of the walls. I left those as a basic wall covering. So if we were to click on that, we would see that it's the M basic wall. So I didn't really do a lot of coloring. What I did do is I put in two panels here. On those panels, what I did was I used the M planes stone, and I didn't want to fill up a whole wall, although initially I did want to have like a whole stone wall. But when I took this material and put it onto the geometry, what it would do is you would start to see the patterning or the blocking off of the pattern, and it looked like something was repeating. Then my next idea, and just to give you an idea, let's see if I can show you what that might look like. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control C, then I'm going to select that panel, go to Basic Wall, Control V. Okay, and you see what it's done to the pattern. So that actually doesn't look that bad. There was other brick formations, but you can definitely see where you can kind of see kind of like a matrixing, like a kind of like a squaring up of the blocks themselves, and a repeating, and it almost kind of looks like a grid pattern. Real quick. Okay, so if you select the side and you have the side of the geometry selected, you then get a surfaces properties, and one of the things that you can do is you can actually go through and, let's say, make this twice as big. So I'm going to have the pattern just a little bit bigger, and I'm going to apply. And so if you look at it now, the stones don't look quite as small as they used to look. You can also come here and, let's say, rotate this. So if I have the wall selected, I can rotate it 45 degrees, which looks kind of weird. Let's do it one more time. So now the bricks are going up and down as opposed to going left and right. I can make them go 90 degrees, so then that way I can rotate them as opposed to in 45-degree increments, and then you can write in your own rotational value if you wanted to. From there, the other thing we could look at is how much they're actually panning back and forth between that grid rotation. So if I do something like this, we look and we can see that we have less of a grid patterning. It's kind of there, but not as bad. So then again, this was the pan. So if I go like this and like that, let's see, let's click off. Not as bad. Let's go back to the quarter. And we see that that's a little bit better. The flip VU, this means it's going to flip it horizontally, and the other one is going to flip it vertically. So if we go this way, we see a little bit of a difference in the way that the pattern looks. Okay, so that would be applying a pattern to a wall, and then being able to go through and make it look, you know, less repetitive and all that. Kind of cool. Like, I kind of like that. I'll leave that wall the way it is. Okay, so another thing that I did then was I created an overhanging off of the edge. This actually came from one of the packs, so it was actually in the Zen Garden. So if I went to Zen Garden, and I believe it was in, not in architecture, I think it was in assets and in meshes, and one of these was like a building awning, and so I used that. And then I used, again, the basic white for the awning, so then that way I could match it against the building. Another thing that you'll notice is that I also brought in some vehicles. So this came in from the vehicles pack, so the vehicle variety pack, and if you get it before the end of the month, which is in January, which is, I believe, today is the 25th, you can see it down here on my calendar, so if you get it before the 31st, you can also have the vehicles. So I placed the vehicles there just to have kind of like a, you know, more realistic looking exterior, like there's people here. So you have the different vehicles. Now, with the vehicles, just to show you what could happen with them, you can actually jump on top of the vehicles, which means that if somebody tried hard enough, they could jump from vehicle to vehicle. And when you're putting things on the ground like this, let's see if I can jump. Well, okay, I'm not going to be able to do it just now. But another important thing would be also making sure that if you want people to be able to freely go through the vehicles between them, that you provide enough space to be able to do so. Like right here, I don't have enough space. Now that might be done on purpose. Maybe you see something at the end that you need to shoot at but you can't get to, or maybe somebody's using that as like a defensive area or something like that. That's fine. Now I'm going to do something that looks a little weird. I'm going to actually leave this car up a little bit higher so I can jump from one car to the other car to show you what I mean by about leaving things, making sure that people are testing enough to make sure that people can't. Oops, almost made it. Okay, so right now I could be in some dangerous territory. If I landed like right there and I was able to jump over that wall, I'd be able to jump out of the game. Or if there were certain areas that I needed to get to over there, that this allowed me then to, let's say, be able to jump across. If I could jump across that gap. Oops, let's get a little bit more of a running start. Okay. Well, I'm not going to keep trying and boring you, but just make sure that people can't get to other sections or other parts of the game by accidentally giving them the ability to get up where they're not supposed to. Okay, so with the vehicle back down, now the way that I made the driveway is it's actually its own geometry. And with the geometry, what I did was I tilted it a little bit. So I actually went in and created a little bit of a tilt. So it kind of feels like a driveway does, right? Where the driveway goes up from there. Now, when I did that, there was a gap that was left. So let me show you the gap. Okay, so you can see that there's actually space underneath the where the parking is and those bricks. Now obviously what I wanted to do there was cover up the bricks with other bricks, and this pack actually came from a if I can find it, a MS City curbs pack. So the whole pack was nothing but a bunch of curbs. Now obviously one of the things that you could do is just grab a geometry, a square, put the square there, make it the length, and then put the material on there that makes it look like brick, right? Now the other thing that's also happening with the curve is that if you notice, and I have fixed the one for this vehicle, but the wheels are properly aligned with the axis. Here the vehicle is not, so this vehicle is still like if it was on the flat floor. And you see that you get a little bit more up here than you get down there. So what I'm going to do is, again, rotate this vehicle a little bit, and probably 5% is way too much. So I'm going to scroll up here and let's go to rotation. I see that this is on the red or on the x-axis, so let's rotate the, whoops, not that way. Let's rotate this axis just a little bit. And let's see if I can do 1%. That's probably enough. Let's now move it up higher, and okay, so that looks better. The wheels are touching the ground, they're not going through the ground. We could do the same thing with this vehicle. Let's see if I may have already done it in one of my other tutorials, but that one has not been done. So let's get the big 18 or the big truck. So with it selected, I'm going to go into its rotation. Let's go 1 degree up. Once we have the 1 degree up, I'm going to grab it and move it up high, and then make sure that it is actually contacting the ground, which it is not. So let's bring this back to 179. Let's make it 178, 177, and now I'm starting to see it go into the ground. So let's go 178. And that's probably going to be good enough. Check the back tires, and I guess at this point we're probably fine. Okay. Alright, so that's how I did that area. From there, I grabbed a pillar, so I just grabbed a geometry, made it long enough to be able to make it feel like it was holding the edge of that. Now him. He is actually a character that I got from a pack. So if I go into the packs, and I'll show you what I did, it is in scanned 3D people packs. This is also another free pack that is available right now. So let's set somebody up over here. Let's go into that pack. Let's go into the RP characters. And I've already got a boy and a girl, so I don't know. I used Sophia and I've used Nathan, so let's use Carla. So let's go into Carla and let's grab Carla and drag her out. Okay, so when you add Carla in, Carla is just kind of sitting there. The other thing you want to obviously do is make sure that Carla's feet are on the ground. If not, you know, you can pull her up and then hit the N key to get her to land back on the floor. Now from here, what we're going to do is we see that if we have her selected in details underneath animation, right now it says use animation blueprints, which would then allow us to be able to use our own. But since she comes with a pack, she already has a few things that she can do. So instead of using the blueprints, we're going to use animation set. And from there, we can actually pick different things that came with her set. So we have her dancing. This is manual, Nathan, somebody else dancing. I'm surprised that they don't give us her dance moves. Let's go into animations. And we only have animations for a few characters. So we have one for Sophia, we have them for Nathan. We don't have anything for Carla, but let's see if we can use somebody else's animations. So let's use Sophia's animation, which is idling. So instead of doing anything, she's just kind of be like hanging out, right? So let's go ahead and push play. And let's see what Carla looks like using Sophia's movements. Okay, so now we have a non-playable character that is truly non-playable. Like, they are not doing anything. They have not been programmed to do anything except just kind of stand there. Alright, so with that, I'll make a few points here that they do have collision settings. So if I, hit them with something, I can't walk through them. So that's sort of how I've got this guy over here. He's doing his own idling things. So actually, let me put them next to each other, like maybe they're waiting for somebody and they're the odd couple. I don't know, something. Let's rotate her about 90 degrees. Let's get her back. And I don't want them in front of the doorway, so I'm just going to move both of them down a little bit. And let's push play and see what they're doing. Now what I would do is sit there and watch them and make sure that they don't run into each other. And wow, that looks very scary that they're both doing the same thing at the same time. So maybe I don't want them at the same place at the same time. Let's move her. And let's move her into that back garden. I'll show you guys what I did with this in a second, but hold on. Let's just put her somewhere. Okay, there we go. I'm happy with that. Okay, so that's where the character came from, and that's how he's moving around. Otherwise, they would just be stationary. They would not be moving. As far as the interior of the house, I did go ahead and clean up the inside corners, made everything line up, so then that way the staircase is nice. Here is just a little bit of something that we could fix if we wanted to, if we didn't want that extra, that extra feeling of that step. So let's go and clean that up. Let's go one more, and that's probably it right there. Okay, and at that point I could probably center the TV a little bit better. And remember that I can grab both of those items together if they're seated on top of each other nicely, meaning that they're already, even. Feels like the TV's on in the right place. Okay. Alright, so once that's there, I'm going to keep looking. Now, one of the other things that we saw earlier was that the edge here still kind of had like the old school edge to it, meaning that it looks sort of like this. So if you see that and you're trying to, let's say, select this image to try to get to that, you're not going to be able to. You actually have to click on the negative space, and from there you'll be able to add in. So I already remember this being called basic wall, and you'll see now that the wall is the right color for the interior of the space. Now, you can see that I have brick on this side, and it doesn't, the brick isn't on the other side. So maybe what I want to do with this is, and I'm going to grab one edge of it, and let's actually select all of the edges, and let's make this that same stone. So I'm going to click here and see what kind of stone it is. So I'm going to hit Control C to copy it, go back to the middle inside, Control V to paste. That's the stone, and I didn't have them all selected, so let's do that again. Do they all take? Nope, I guess I'm just going to do this one by one. No worries. Okay, so now we have something that looks kind of like a stone wall, and it, for the most part, looks stonier, I guess, because the stone goes through the inside as well. Now we can see that the size of the stone has changed. So if I need to go through, let's go and make that a 2 by 2 and hit apply. And now the stone is the same size as the stone from the outside, right? So it doesn't look odd. It doesn't look like the stone became smaller or something. So let's hit 2 by 2 and hit apply. And let's do it to this inside part as well. So we'll do 2 by 2 and hit apply. Okay, nice. That looks more realistic. Okay, so at this point, the other thing I can show you that I've done is that I set up another person up here, and I gave them an animation for dancing, which was one of the ones that came with the kit. And then I moved the piano over to the edge, which was I placed in there from the last tutorial. And what I did was I actually enclosed this space with glass. So if I click on one of these, each one of these is a geometry. And if you look in the glass type or in the surface material type, it was glass. So if I was to go back to the content and type in glass, it would then show me all the different types of glasses that I have. So if I wanted to create like some really crazy looking glass, let's see what this is. This one is coming in from a medieval pack. I don't know. Let's see what that looks like. That is weird. I don't like it so much. Let's see, M statue glass? Okay, we're getting some kind of weird repeating pattern inside the glass, right? Let's see, M window glass? Okay, that glass looks pretty close to the glass that we have. We don't have any, seems to be doing a little bit something different with the reflections. So you look at the floor, look at this area down here, and you can see like some reflection stuff where on the glass that I have picked, I'm not getting quite as much. So there are different types of glass. You can go through and pick the kind that you want. The one that I'm using is the, where is it? It's just called M glass. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to type in glass. And I'm going to scroll down until I find the one I was using. Oh, there's a one glass. Which was that one? Okay, so now if I look at the window, let me click outside so I can see it without it being selected. It looks great. Okay, now one of the other things that you'll probably notice when you're working with glass, if you grab this and let's say we push this into the floor, you'll actually see that we can see through the floor, which is very odd. So what you're going to have to actually do is, instead of like with other shapes, sometimes we kind of butt them up against each other and nestle them into another shape to kind of create the edge. With the glass, because you can see through it, you can't do that. Otherwise, it's going to look very strange when you're playing the game. So what you're going to have to do is actually, and let me slow this down, is what I do is I leave just a hair of a space between the floor and that, and then that way I don't get that kind of feeling where it feels like the glass is going through the floor. So let me go ahead and push play and go back into this environment, and I'm going to walk around that upper room and show you that that I'm not getting any kind of weird. I mean, I see the shading, because like the glass plane is there, but I'm not seeing anything weird. And I've done the same thing with the ceiling up there, because if we don't, look what will happen to the ceiling. If I select the ceiling, let's bring that down just a little bit. And if you look at the edges, we got that same thing happening. So if I was to undo and put the edges, let me get faster, click outside, go back in, and you'll see that I've left just a hair of a space, so then that way they're not intersecting each other, and then that way it doesn't show you through, or it doesn't show through the ceiling. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and push play. I'll walk all the way through the level as I've designed it. So there's the cars on the deal, on the raised parking lot with a curb. There's Homeboy sitting there chilling. There's a TV. It's like MTV Cribs or something, right? So there's my little garden. I look out when I'm sitting on my chair trying to figure out the world. Okay, here's my staircase with my piano room. The whole, I guess, top stairs. People can dance here. I'll probably need to put some kind of banister area here to make sure that anybody that's dancing doesn't fall off and sue me, or break their neck and sue me. Again, I'm not seeing any kind of weird. I'm seeing like a little bit of doubling, but that could be from the glass. I'm not seeing through the object, through the stone pillars. Again, not seeing through the stone pillars, not seeing through the stone pillars. Okay, so that's the upstairs. Then I have a backyard, little backyard area. This is where we've got Carla, who we set up just a second ago. I created, this came from a garden pack. So each one of these is an individual fence. I've made multiple copies. This is another mesh, and then made multiple copies out in that direction. Now, the thing that I would want to do here real quick with you is do a little bit more of the decorating for, like, let's say the outside. Like right now I have kind of this gazebo that came in another pack, so it's a mesh from a different pack. Also, this thing was small when I first tried to get in it. I couldn't actually walk inside of it. So what I had to do was make the scale a little bit larger. So instead of it being a 1 by 1 by 1 scale, I made it 1 by 3 by 1, 1 by 1.3 on all threes, and that allowed me to be able to freely walk through the object without getting stuck, or without being able to walk in one end and not being able to walk out the other. Okay, so now that you've seen that, let's go ahead and put some grass in this area with some plants and maybe a couple more trees. So again, for the floor, let's add geometry. Let's add a box. Let's make the box 10 so it's flat. Let's go and make this, let's say 1,000, which will fit the area there. Let's make it 1,000 this way. And let's make sure that that's not going over there, and that's not going into the pool that we're going to work on later. Okay, I'm going to make it just visible across the top. Okay, right now that's a glass finish, which looks kind of crazy, huh? So let's not do it that way. Let's make the y-axis 1100, so it's covering up the whole area. And let's we'll set up a little bit of like a patio there, leaving some of the brick there, but the rest of it's going to be grass. Okay, so now I'm going to set this down a little bit, have just the top area showing above, and let's go through and find grass. So I'm going to type in grass. I'm in the content folder, so that way it's looking at everything that I have, and not just in one pack, but in all of the packs. So we're looking for something like, I don't know, let's try that one. So that one says tea grass. Nah, it's pretty patterned up. Let's see what happens if we move this down to a 2 by 2 and hit apply. A little bit better, but I can still see kind of the graininess on that. Let's do... No, we're running out of choices here. Let's see. Okay. Let's actually leave it like that for now. It's not quite the green I want, so in one of the other packs I have this, which is some grass, so let's add a little bit of grass there. This is kind of going to help break up a little bit the look of the floor, so then that way the floor doesn't look like it's got the same pattern over it over and over and over again. Some of these, to break up the way they look, let's rotate them a little bit, so, and they don't have to be perfect, 90-degree rotations. We just move them a little bit. Let's rotate this way in the other direction. Let's make sure none of that's going into the wall. We'll pull that here, and let's grab this one, pull it back that way, and that's probably fine the way it is. Okay, now I got this really pretty flower pack, so let's go into flowers, plants pack, and there is meshes, and inside meshes I have all sorts of flowers. So let's see what kind of flowers I want to put in my garden. Let's grab some of these. Those look nice and big. I kind of like that. Add some of those. Add some flowers on the wheel. Okay. Some bigger plants. Let's try one of these. Those look kind of fun. Okay, so everything that I'm pulling over have been individual flowers. Let's see. I also have benches, bird houses. Let's put a little birdhouse in there. Put it next to Carla. Let's grab a bench that somebody could sit on if they wanted to. Let's put that back here. Let's get a couple of barrels. Eventually, we're going to add some lights. This is actually where the where this pack came from, where that gazebo-looking thing came from. It's called the pavilion. Set a small umbrella. For anybody that might be sitting. Put that back here. And you can see how quickly we can start decorating stuff. Let's move some of this grass. Let's move it back that way. Move some of this back this way. Put that next to the birdhouse. And now we have something between the grass and everything else that kind of looks like a little path where somebody might walk down towards this. The only thing that I'm seeing now is a little bit of the floor underneath that. So let's also fill this in with grass. Okay. Now if we want to, we could probably drop that down a little bit further. And remember, we don't want to drop it down too much because we don't want it to go below the level that we could see it. So let's go 65. And that's about as even as I can get with without noticing too much of the difference between the two. Okay, very cool. So let's walk through this little garden that we've just now created. And basically you would be doing the same thing. I'm doing a lot of gardening and stuff on the outside because I have less packs for stuff on the inside. I probably maybe, yep, that looks pretty good. I like it. Kind of has a pretty good gardening feel. Maybe we could put something here for somebody to sit. There's a couple of like weird objects there outside. And on the inside, let's go and see what else we could find. I believe that there was a temple pack that I downloaded, which I think is this one. Let's go and look in the meshes. And yes, there's a lot of temple stuff on the outside. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, that looks kind of interesting. Something that you might put on a wall. Okay, some kind of Art Deco stuff. But not really. When I mean Art Deco, just that it's art and it's decorating. So I'm making a joke. Okay, let's grab the other one. Now, if I was going to do something like this as somebody decorating, I'd probably want to leave that somewhere in the center of the wall, so enough spacing on one side, enough space on the other side. I might not put the couches on that side of the wall anymore. I might rotate them now. And let's put this guy on this side of the wall. Let's see how good my feng shui is. Okay, so we got the little TV in the corner. We got the cool piece of art on the wall. That's there. One side does look a little bit taller than the other, so let's bring that one down. Very cool. Let's see if there isn't, let's see, maybe outside here we could put one of these little lamp deals. see what else we could do for some more decorating. Okay, we got a fountain, but that's for outside. See if there's anything that we could do on the inside. The carpet. That is a shrine temple floor. And that is perfect. Okay, let's move that down just a little bit. Let's make sure it's not disrupting anything around. Okay, so let's push play. And let's go see what this looks like. Okay, so I've got my new little light. I've got my cool little, I guess looks like a rug now. And I have some things on the wall that look interesting. Could probably put something there. And I probably need, again, my Manister that's going across here. But anyways, okay. So you guys see what I'm doing as far as decorating, using assets, moving them around, making interesting environments, creating what I guess would be equivalent to something nice for a visitor center, somewhere where people can get information about you, about your project, about your portfolio, and they can look and see how detailed you can do both a urban kind of environment like this, which is a house, and mix that in with different types of elements. And then also the fact that we have incorporated people. There she is dancing. I forget who that is, Sophia in the people pack. Okay, so once we've finished with that, once you've done some interior designing and maybe you've added some people, there's also animal packs, you've added some kind of an exterior to the building, an interior to the building. If your building had a back door, then, you know, have some kind of a back area garden. Mine had to have 2 gardens that I could create, and I used, you know, different types of flowers and plants and props and interior things like couches and things like that. I might still want to put something against this back wall here, but the rest of the space, you know, it doesn't have to be totally used because the space is going to change once we start putting lighting inside. It's going to change the way that this thing feels. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope that wasn't too long. I know sometimes when I get into this, especially as I'm you know, trying to decorate, I try kind of take my time, which is why I like to come to these things once I've created something like I did with that. But anyways, hope you have fun with this. And really the important thing here is that we have a doorway, that we have windows, that we've incorporated glasses or glass of some type, that we have a second floor, that we have a stair system that goes to the second floor, that the building looks like something from the outside, and that it also looks like something from the inside, something that you would, you know, consider walking into and doesn't look like a mess. So hope you enjoyed the video. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.